Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
All right, Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up.
Dodge this.
Hello, and welcome to the Holy Moment Podcast. I'm joined here by my lovely host, Nathaniel Lirio. This is the podcast where we watch movies with you and discuss the moments that work, the moments that don't, and the moments that reflect truth in unexpected ways. Now, today's a very special episode because we're watching a very special movie. It's one that's near and dear both to Nathaniel and my hearts because it is a movie from our childhood. Let me tell you a story about little Jeffrey, 5, 6, 7 years old, going into a Blockbuster, seeing the DVD case for Super Babies Baby Geniuses 2. And seeing that kid dressed as a bouncy ball, right? And I don't know what it was about it, but I thought that was the coolest bit of costume design ever conceived. In fact, I was near convinced that he was the main character.
I was going to say, I feel like this movie might be a little bit racist because you were talking about a lot in the last episode, and then just leading up to this episode, Jeff and I have been talking. He keeps bringing it up. This boy that bounces, this boy that bounces, and then I start the movie, and it's a black kid, the only black kid in the movie, and he has almost no dialogue and does very little in the movie. Granted, almost none of the babies do anything in the movie besides the big cajon. But I just was surprised with how much he was the back burner character. He's that character that barely makes it into the main cast and has 2 lines. So I think Baby Geniuses or Super Babies, Baby Geniuses 2, racist.
Yeah, I mean, I watched the movie fully expecting to get so much more of him, and we got nothing, and I was severely disappointed.
He needs his own spinoff. That's what we need. We need Super Babies, Baby Geniuses, the Bouncy Black Boy 3.
I just think that circles are satisfying shapes to look at, right? And I think that the color theory of it all, right? I think it just gelled, it cohered in a way that really resonated with my baby brain. Meanwhile, I thought that Archie's little graduation hat was the stupidest thing
Too
on
many
planet
points.
Earth. Too many points.
Yeah.
Right? It's not simple, like a circle.
Because the baby brain is smooth and the bouncy ball is smooth.
Exactly. It has some thematic relevance to our story. Which I guess all of the outfits are relevant to the story, but there's really not much to the story.
You should tell my fiance that. I've been trying to convince her. I was like, I promise you, when I weigh 600 pounds, I'm in a perfectly round, smooth ball of cellulose, I'll be the epitome of attractivity. But she's
That's
just
how
not
God
buying
intended
it.
us to be.
That's what I think so.
Yeah.
Working out the gym, straight from Satan.
The only 4 actors that I feel are worth mentioning here are Jon Voight, one, who played the main villain. I looked him up. He is a Shakespearean actor with several Oscar nominations and 1 Oscar win.
Oh, wow. What for?
Yeah. He won for, it's a movie in which he plays a paraplegic veteran. And, but he's been in so many other things, such as Mission Impossible. But yeah, he's a big name actor. I wonder how they were able to snag him. Yeah, he won it for Coming Home, which was filmed in 1978.
It is always funny seeing actors that before they make it really big and the garbage stuff they acted in beforehand. And then it always feels weird of what? Why is Tom Hanks in that? Or do you remember, I don't remember the actor, which makes me a bad Asian. The guy that plays the main character in Shang-Chi, did you see going around because he had done some other stuff before them. Shang-Chi was his really, really big breakout role. And there was a meme that went around because, to make ends meet, he also acted as a model. So there was a bunch of Shutterstock, generic, photos of him, with a bunch of other Asians around doing really cheesy things. And I just thought that was really funny.
No, I've seen those Shutterstock images. Those are great. The fun thing about Voight is he's had success. He's had a lot of success, and then he just appears in this movie that is universally panned, and very low quality. It reminds me of Martin Scorsese's cameo in Shark Tale.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's not even a cameo. He just plays one of the characters.
Yep. That's another movie that kind of lives in my childhood.
Yeah, me too. But the other three actors that I want to talk about are triplets, and they play Kahuna, the big Kahuna, is played by Leo, Jerry, and Miles Fitzgerald, and they're now all professional hockey players.
Yep. Yeah, I found that out too because when I was usually when I watch movies, I'm kind of going through Letterboxd and just looking at the actors and their history and reading funny reviews and spoiling things for myself by accident. But I happened to see like, oh, this kid plays the Kahuna, and then I saw another person that played the Kahuna. I was like, oh, maybe it's the stunt actor, and I saw another person that played the Kahuna, and then I realized they all had like the last name, and I was like, what? And so I looked it up and I found out, yeah, they're triplets, which was cool, and they went on to play hockey, which is also pretty neat.
Yeah, which it definitely reveals something about the way films are made. I know we talked about this some in film school, where for child actors, they often hire twins so that they can get around the labor laws of, hey, kids aren't supposed to be working these super long hours.
I can't bring it to what do you know it's like I think depending on the age, it's like 4 to 6 hours child actors can't work, and obviously adults, your normal day is like a 12-hour day, but it easily can go up to 18 hours. So yeah, I could just imagine being like, okay, 6 hours for this one triplet, and then 6 hours for this triplet, and then 6 hours for this triplet. Okay, now go home for 12 hours and rinse and repeat.
Yeah, I like to imagine that those are really long shoot days for them to need 3 of the same kid.
I'd like to think they did this movie in like 10 days. Just like one of those hell like shoots where like just you're like blazing through everything. You don't care about your script supervisor and you're just like rushing to beat the clock because you have $10 to spend.
No sleep, no, like the food was not provided. Bring your granola bars.
Yeah, no safety. 7 babies died on this set.
Yeah.
Definitely didn't make that up.
Rest in peace. Tommy, Stewie, Birdie, Howie, Huey, Louie, and the News.
Yeah.
But
fun fact, they were originally quadruplets, but one of the brothers did not make it.
Yeah. Yeah, so I was reminded at the beginning of this movie that this is in fact a sequel because they do mention some characters. I don't know if you caught on, cousins of Archie that were the stars of the previous movie.
I know the scene you're talking about. Once again, watch this movie online, 720p, bad audio. So there were moments I'm like, what are they saying? I can't make it out. And then it doesn't help with like the weird CGI baby mouths. So yeah, I do remember when he was like something cousin, and I was like, is this relevant? But then I realized I'm watching Super Babies 2. I don't care what the dialogue is, and I don't care about the plot. So I just kept watching and I did not rewind it.
That's so fair. No, I mean that's kind of what my attitude was about it.
But tell me why you picked this movie.
Yes. So the reason I picked this movie is because of the story that I've previously shared, just how entranced I was, and in awe of the bouncy ball boy. I honestly wanted to be him, and I think I begged my mom to get me an outfit like that for Halloween. Alas, that never came to be, although I'm seriously considering it for this upcoming October.
Will it be accompanied with blackface, Jeffrey?
Ooh, probably not.
Okay. Okay. Just making sure, I just trying to see if you're trying to accurately represent this character.
No,
what was
I
his
think
name?
I'm going to...
I want to say Little Willie, but it's not correct, but I want to call him
Man,
Little
I don't
Willie.
know. You think I know you think I know their names? You think I cared? He spoke 3 lines. He spoke 1 line. I don't even know how many lines he spoke. Practically speaking, none.
Wouldn't it be
None of it
great
mattered.
in the final act with the Germans where they come in and he's like bouncing up and down. He's like, I'm going to take these guys on. I just want one of the Germans just to freaking boot him as hard as he could, just like out of the room because he's a bouncy ball. And that would have been awesome.
No, he reminds me of, it's Choji, right? From Naruto?
Yeah,
He can
Choji.
fight into a ball and then...
He can, yeah. He rolls because he's fat. It's his whole thing. He's fat. Until he does drugs and becomes not fat in the Naruto universe. So, if you don't want to be fat, go do drugs, kids. We are sponsored by Ozempic.
I think that this movie, if anything, has taught us to use performance-enhancing drugs because that's sort of the central plot point of this movie, right?
Yeah.
It's
What
the
is
big
this about?
kahuna. So we begin in Berlin, 1966.
Of course we do. With this movie.
And the nefarious Mr. Kane is kidnapping children. To what end? I still don't know.
Well, no,
what-
we know because he knows the future of the world will be controlled by the children one day. So if he controls the children, he controls the future. Come on, Jeffrey, we're not paying attention to this plot.
It's fair, but he's been trying that since 1966, and it hasn't worked out for him. So maybe he'd try to go for a different track, you know?
Yeah,
or try other ideas.
He's persistent, like all good Nazis are in all films ever, because he was a Nazi, obviously.
Yeah, what's that quote about insanity? Doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting different results.
Yeah, the Nazis were a little insane, Jeffrey. Just a little.
Oh, I mean, yeah, I guess you're right there. Anyhow, the nefarious Mr. Kane, kidnapping children, wants to control the future and the world. But there's only one person, one individual, one child that can stop him. That's the Big Kahuna. Is that his full name? I don't even know.
It's the name of his penis.
Maybe he's a little young to be talking about his penis, Nathaniel.
No, he's 70. He is 70. You can't talk about the other children's, but the Big Kahuna is 70.
Okay, maybe I can get behind that, I suppose.
Even in the flashback, he would have been like 40 something.
Oh, let's talk about
weird.
This is all over the place. Let's talk about Zach for just a second. How embarrassing is it to be adopted by a 7-year-old?
How embarrassing is it to act in the movie Super Babies 2?
It's like, man, he adopted me when no one else would. We were trying to find my mom, but he couldn't find my mom, and so now I'm his little boy.
Do you think the Big Kahuna like gets on a stool to tuck him in at night and kisses him on the forehead?
I mean, probably. He seems like he had a happy childhood / adolescence.
Yeah.
Zach.
Oh, there were so many orphans in this movie.
So many. Yeah. But so yeah, we start in Berlin, and Mr. Kane, he gets the boot, right? Kahuna saves the day. He just happens to be a distant relative of our main character, Archie, and his gang. And they hear about this entertainment magnate coming into town, and he wants to use the babies at this daycare as a test audience to this new television programming that's aimed towards kids, right? Because he has always had a soft spot for the gentle laugh of children.
Yeah, he said that too many times to not be a pedophile. I'm sorry. You can only say that once or twice. If you say it 3 times, pedophile.
I've always had a soft spot for the gentle laugh of children.
No, Jeffrey, you don't have to keep auditioning for Femboy Hitler. That was last episode.
Oh, you're right. Sorry. I'm just so excited about that role.
Check out last episode of the Holy Moment podcast if you want to know about that joke.
He comes into town, but they suspect that he's nefarious. As I've used that word so often, perhaps too often in this episode.
At least that using that word multiple times doesn't make you a pedophile. It's just a good word, nefarious.
Yeah. No, it is. It is. Nefarious. What are some other words like it?
Evil.
Gregarious.
Oh, just sounds like it, not like a synonym. Oh,
Or like words that are lovely to say, like melancholy.
pasta.
Hey, simple, punchy,
Yeah.
to the point. I agree. Anyway, let's just call that the first act. And then
Honestly, to our audience, if you haven't watched Super Babies, Genius Babies 2, don't go watch it. But if you have watched it, you know exactly why this episode is the way it has been so far. Because it is just a nice steaming pile of manure. Because yeah, what it was 5% on Rotten Tomatoes. Not saying that's like everything. Not saying that's and obviously Jeffrey and I are like what 25, 26. I know this wasn't geared towards us. I get that. This probably is for children or is for children. I liked it as a kid, but watching it as a 26-year-old alone in my bed, my fiance, she wouldn't even watch. This is like the first movie out of all the movies. She was like, no, I'm not watching that. So I watched it in my bed alone, desperately not trying to fall asleep. So, yeah, that's why everything's so chaotic and all over the place.
that is so funny. That Merritt just refused to watch it.
Yeah. She partially had to get up early for work, and she partially was like, this sounds horrible.
I mean, hey, good on her. She
Stand up for herself in this relationship. Because forcing your significant other to watch Super Babies 2 is, in fact, abuse. Did you make Joy watch this, Jeffrey?
I did not. Fortunately, I
Good.
watched this by myself. I suffered it alone, and that's something that I'm gonna have to go to therapy about and discuss. Just that she abandoned me to it. Honestly, it was very irresponsible of her to have let me gone through with it.
Yeah.
But listen, loyal listeners, loyal viewers of the Holy Moment podcast. More than anything and anyone, I'm devoted to you.
Oh no. Not his girlfriend, not his friends, not Jesus. You guys. You people who are not embodied because you are just figments of our imagination.
Yeah, exactly. And in order to honor me and my sacrifice, I think that it's only right that you email us at the Holy Moment Podcast at gmail.com. Is that right?
I do believe that is our email.
That is correct. Email us and give us your thanks and your praise. And
not even a question for them, just like praise us. Jeffrey, these last 15 minutes have not been content. They should not be praising us.
Well, if I don't get praise, and I don't know why I watched this movie. That's the long and short of it.
That's your justification. You're like, if they don't praise me, then I sat through Baby Genius 2 for no reason. And I cannot have that. I will not stand for this.
No.
Oh, man. Okay.
Anyhow, what was your favorite moment from the first act?
No, don't ask me that question. Okay. Yes, my favorite moment of Super Baby's Genius Baby 2 of the first act was, gosh, okay, here's one. The actual opening bit where, because it opens up, the kids are in a daycare and they're telling lore of the Kahuna, and then they do this cool transition where the little boy's drawing like, 1940s East Berlin, and then they like transition from that paper to East Berlin, the 1940s or whatever. I was kind of like, whoa, that was more impressive than I thought I was gonna get. That opaque transitioning, going from 100% opaque to 0%. Dang, that was pretty hard. But no, the actual scene of the flashback, or the opening flashback where the Kahuna shows up and Fort's the main villain, that was pretty cool because, again, I watched this when I was a kid. This isn't one of those movies that you grew up on a kid and you remember every line. This isn't Tangled or Night at the Museum, Emperor's New Groove, where you could quote it all. This was a movie that like lives somewhere deep in my psyche that I can only bring up fragments of really hazy imagery, and that's it. So I will say like 90%, and there's a world as a kid, I might not have even seen this all the way through. Maybe I just like saw snippets throughout my childhood, but I remember like almost none of this movie. So it was funny when the Kahuna first showed up and then took like essentially Popeye the Sailor Man spinach, but in green baby formula, and then got jacked and then beat the shit out of the Nazis. That was pretty cool. That was pretty rad. I like that scene.
Did that give you unfounded hope that the rest of the movie would be better?
Yeah, honestly, kind of, because like I was, again, it was the production value wasn't anything crazy. It wasn't that well shot, but I really was like, oh hey, this is better production value than I thought it was going to. And then I just feel like I was so bored the rest of the movie, so desperately bored. But yeah, I thought it was cool. He drank his little drugs and he got super. Hey, another reason to do drugs, kids. You get ripped like the Kahuna. All the cheesy one-liners about being babies was funny for like 30 seconds, and then that kind of like got on my nerves. You know what I did find funny, and they didn't explain it at all. So the bad guy, who I don't even know his name of, and I'm just going to refer to him as the bad guy or the Nazi man because I don't care, because this is Super Babies 2, Genius Baby 2. He shows up to the daycare, current timeline, and, making no sense. That's per usual. And they find this baby. And the bad guys were like, oh shit, the baby overheard us. We know this baby knows something, and we know this baby's going to go tell someone. We're going to torture him. They put him in a chair and like, we're going to start interrogating you. You tell us. And I wish the Kahuna didn't interrupt. And I wish we got that scene of them torturing that baby. But So we have like almost the baby's POV looking up at these big scary guys, and then the big kahuna just like slides into screen left, crawling on the ceiling. Like Spider-Man, with no explanation why. He has superpowers, but he can't climb on walls. So he's just Spider-Man crawling across this wall with no explanation, no reasoning, and then he drops down and then he beats the shit out of the Nazis again. He does that a lot throughout the movie, but I thought that was pretty funny.
It looked freaky.
Yeah,
I was frightened at that
it was
point.
scary.
So what's that baby doing on the wall, on the ceiling? He's not supposed to be there. Someone will catch him.
Someone catch him. Well, yeah. Let me be mean to you. What was your favorite scene in the first act? You tell me.
Oof, man. Taste of my own medicine, I suppose. I don't know when it first shows up, but the television programming that Mr. Kane wants to put on for these kids, where you have Mr. Frog, he looks more like a zucchini.
Zucchini. Yeah, that was a great quote.
That was a good moment. I think he gets, he does well with what he's given. I would not have expected that he was a Shakespearean actor, or an Oscar winner for that matter. But I just like that show. I wanted to see that show. Have you seen Smiling Friends?
The animated one that's like actually for adults?
Yeah.
No, those type of things weird me out. I have not seen it.
That's so fair.
I'm not a degenerate.
Yeah, it's just a freaky little frog man making weird noises. And I was like, I'm genuinely entertained. Am I a baby?
Jeffrey still has that smooth brain. He's still chasing after that bouncy ball.
Mm-hmm,
No. Just imagine Jeffrey in the bedroom being like, I'm gonna dress up like bouncy boy for sex. Just like a fetish.
I mean, here's what I'll say. You
shouldn't say anything about it. You shouldn't say anything, Jeffrey. You should move on.
No, it's to the point that this was a boring movie. I think I remember explicitly thinking as a baby, it's like, when is he going to turn into a bouncy ball again? And yeah, because I had expectations.
Yeah, but they did not pay off those expectations. That did surprise me. And we can get into a little bit later because it's more the second and third act. But when they got their superpowers, and then they didn't get their they're like, here's superpowers, and they did nothing with them until the last 5 minutes. I remember them doing more with their superpowers. I know you're the host, but I have a genuine question. How much of this movie did you remember? And how much of it, more interestingly, was there things in this movie that you swore you remember that weren't in there? Because there were things for me that I was like, oh, when's this character going to show up? And they never did. Because I guess my baby brain just imagined it.
I remembered very little. All I remembered was, in fact, the bouncy ball boy and the other babies with their dumb little outfits. But that does make me think of, and I was telling Nathaniel this story before the podcast. I watched The Sixth Sense with my girlfriend recently, and she doesn't do well with scary movies. And so I was trying to convince her, because I genuinely thought, well, it's PG-13. It's not going to be that scary, right? And I'd seen it before a long, long time ago. But the problem was I combined The Sixth Sense with another movie starring Whoopi Goldberg in my memories, because both movies I'd watched a very long time ago. And so I kept on telling her, hey, Whoopi Goldberg is in this. It can't be that scary. Can you think of any movies that have been legitimately scary that Whoopi Goldberg has been in? And she's like, I guess not. And so we watched the movie. Has a lot of genuinely haunting moments. We get to the end, and I'm not going to spoil it because Nathaniel hasn't seen it. And there's just this moment of silence before I just say, I could have sworn Whoopi Goldberg was in this. I could have sworn. And so that was a brief aside about a better film. But
after that story, Jeffrey, you know what I took away?
What?
You just wanted to tell that story to say the sentence, Nathaniel hasn't seen this movie. Again. Dragging my name through the dirt. Just because I don't watch movies every night like you, just because I have a life, doesn't mean you can be racist.
Whoa. That last accusation just came out of nowhere.
Yeah, I'm Asian. You're white. It all makes sense.
Yeah, well, I don't know about that. I'll be in touch with my lawyer.
Any crime against me is automatically a hate crime. Pretty sure that's how it works.
All right. Well, we'll see about that. Anyways, no memories about this movie. Save for that.
Smooth brain he was. Yeah, my big thing was I swore that the big kahuna was in fact older. I thought when we jumped to the future, he was like a hot 30-year-old that was now manning the team. Like I thought it was always like once the baby Big Kahuna gets older, he's now like in charge, and then they get a new baby Big Kahuna. So like for the longest time, when that scene I was talking about where like the bad guys were at the daycare trying to interrogate a baby, and the Big Kahuna shows up, I thought it was like the next generation or like 3 generations down Big Kahuna. And I swear when we went to the hideout, there was going to be like a hot 30-year-old, which also, guys, I know the math doesn't math right there, because if the baby was like 10 in the 40s, it would have been like 90 in our time. But the point is, I swore he was going to be like 30, hot, and was like, yeah, I'm in charge of all these babies. I'm so cool. But that just wasn't true. There was Kevin, what was his name?
Oh, I thought his name was Zach.
Zach,
That might have
no.
been the jock.
As the theme with this episode, don't know, don't care. His name is now Kevin for me. You can call him Zach. But the guy that was adopted by the Big Kahuna, I guess maybe that's who I was thinking about as a baby. And when I was young watching it as like a 4-year-old, I thought he was a lot older, even though he was like 16 in the movie.
I think that as a kid, you're always going to gravitate towards the older characters. Not the old characters, but the older characters. Because, stupid 4-year-old brain is going to go like, oh, 14-year-old, cool, adults. They're allowed to go outside on their own, unsupervised.
Wish I could be like them. Wish I didn't.
They're
poop
allowed
my
to work
pants
a
every
minimum
day.
wage job,
Yeah, I can't wait to get paid $12 an hour.
Well, in Tennessee, it's $7.50.
Yeah, but that was my big. There was a few other ones, but for me, I will say the thing that like was deep in the recesses of my soul was when they opened the door to that layout, that layer, and it was like the moat and the bubbles and the carousel and everything. That unlocked something that I was like, wow, that's like the thing I specifically remember, which also I guess makes sense. Is kind of interesting to think about as a kid. Probably the most magical, interesting, cool thing in the whole movie was the whole layer, because the layer was so cool. So it's just crazy that's what lived in my mind.
Well, it just made me think of the lair in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, or Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, whichever one had Gene Wilder in it.
Yeah.
Because, they're exiting the tunnel on that
Yep.
boat, and they've
Yep.
just seen a horrific scene of a chicken getting its head cut off.
Yeah.
That's all I could think of.
The only difference with that layer and this layer is there's no slavery in the form of small people. Just a
Yeah.
lot of holograms. Unless maybe Kevin is a slave. No, he likes the Big Kahuna.
Yeah, he's his adopted son.
Yeah, yeah, his father. As cheesy as it was, do you know offhand the budget for this movie? Because I'm really curious how much they spent on this movie.
So the budget was a whopping $20 million.
20?
And the box office was $9.4 million.
That's so much money. Where'd the 20 million go? It was, I think it went to the holograms. I was weirdly impressed with the holograms. That was
I think it went
kind
to
of cool.
paying the I think it went into paying the Oscar-winning actor.
I'd like to think he like read the script and he was like, "Oh my gosh, this is it. This is the epitome of art. Yeah, this is what inspires me." Or wouldn't it be great to be like a famous actor? Like you got money. You know you're gonna get any role you want to get in the future. If you're just like, I'm just gonna go like play this like garbage role just for the heck of it. And just have fun with it, even if they pay you like $1,000.
I love that freedom. I know the guy that played Harry Potter in the movies. I forget his name.
Oh yeah, I know who you're talking
Elijah
about. Who played
Wood.
Rupert, not Rupert.
Oh,
Who?
Harry Potter.
Yeah, but he played Wait, you're not thinking about Daniel Radcliffe, are you?
I think I am.
No, because are you talking about the ice cream guy?
No, I'm talking the guy that plays Harry Potter went on to be a part of so many really weird projects and weird movies, and that's because I think he just had the luxury of doing that now that he was the lead guy in a really big franchise, and he wanted to branch out and challenge himself creatively.
Yeah,
So he was in this movie where he played a dead body.
yeah, Swiss Army Man.
Yeah, Swiss Army Man.
Okay, now I understand what you're talking about. Yeah, it's Daniel Radcliffe, and yeah, he does a lot of weird movies. I thought you were talking about the guy that plays Ron Weasley, because Ron Weasley basically wasn't in movies after the Harry Potter, and he like bought an ice cream truck and sells ice cream. I don't know if all that's factual, but I thought that's the story you're going to tell.
That's so cute. I love that.
Yeah, that would be really cute.
Anyway, moving on to the next act, I suppose. They're in the lair, right? Because the kids have been chased by the goons, and they have an important disc that Mr. Kane needs. And so they've been whisked away along with their babysitter to the Kahuna's lair, right? And as we have mentioned, beautiful Willy Wonka style lair with a boat and plenty of attractions and holograms. In fact, I don't even know if I let you finish that thought. Did you have any other thoughts on the holograms?
I just was surprised I thought the holograms looked cool. And I don't know, you see holograms in movies nowadays, and I genuinely thought their holograms looked good for being that old of a movie. That was my only thought was just like, wow, holograms, good.
Yeah, I think that just goes to show that maybe it doesn't take a lot to, fake a good hologram, right? Maybe I'll try to write a short film that incorporates that. But anyhow, the babysitter meets Zach. He is immediately smitten. They go on one date, and 3 seconds in, they kiss, and then they're immediately on the go again, which was peak romance there. It brought a tear to my eye.
Yeah. Pride and Prejudice who? That was just the most tension-filled, the women always say, romance and sex and stuff, it's in the details, That's why they love Pride and Prejudice. This Pride and Prejudice ain't got nothing on this. The tension, how it was drawn out and beautifully acted in the blocking, absolutely beautiful.
Now, I think there's also something to be said about just you know what you want, and you're going to get what you want,
You know what? This brings up a very bizarre topic. The big kahuna had to give Kevin the sex talk. And I don't like that thought. I'm sure Kevin didn't. No, if anything, I bet Kevin was really into it. Like, yeah, give me your wisdom. You're so smart, adopted father whom I love and is a baby.
But I like the idea also that the Kuna just felt that was too awkward a conversation to have. So Zach or Kevin or whoever he is just does not know what sex is.
Well, no, because remember, he made a comment about kissing because they kissed and he said something about like, what was my
if
kissing?
you don't know what kissing is, then...
Yeah, he was like, what, do you not know what kissing is? I like to think he doesn't know what kissing is. He goes to like, I don't know, rubber elbow. And then he's like, what, you don't know what kissing is? Because he just doesn't know.
You just put your mouth on my mouth. Think about the germs.
Yeah.
Yeah, the big kahuna leaves, right? Or rather, we learn more about the kahuna's backstory via Zach. That he was, in fact, a baby once, a real baby, an infant, if you will, that accidentally took a little sip of that magic serum that his father, a scientist, developed for the purpose of keeping soldiers alive in harsh climates. But lo and behold, it does a lot more than that. It makes you super, right? And gives you immortality, I guess. And from there, we find out that he has a brother with a very conspicuous German accent that tends to resent him for...
Why did none of the others have German accents? Why did only the brother have a German accent? It was so
That's
weird.
What I was thinking.
It was so weird.
He does say, when he's complaining to his dad, that, like, I feel more German than I feel American now.
That's not how that works. I'm half Filipino. I'm half American. I don't, feel more Filipino, so therefore I speak Tagalog. He literally said to his father, I want to be a Nazi, not an American.
Oh, man. It's the classic story of the kid that steps out of line and has a disapproving father, but they want to be something else, right? If you think about it, it's really the story of The Little Mermaid.
Yeah, the little Nazi. That's the new title.
So we learn that lore, and then Kahuna goes off to ruin Mr. Kane's charity event or whatever. He got shot out of the sky, and no one questions anything. Of course, Mr. Kane says it was all a hologram.
I believed him. Those holograms are convincing.
Hey, I mean, Oscar-winning actor there. Yeah, it'd be hard not to believe him. Anyhow, The kids are left by themselves and like, what are we gonna do? We're just stupid little poopy diaper babies.
They really
And I
did. They
think
really did
that's
have a line where it's just, I'm just a baby, a whining, crying baby. Also,
poopy diaper baby.
yeah, I'm gonna interrupt for a second. I don't know if any of these characters were likable. I hated our main character. Archie, was that his name?
Yeah.
He was such a whiny brat. I didn't like him. I didn't I hated him. If you could hate a baby, I hate that baby. And I think it's dumb that his power was uh being smart, because the whole thing was like, I'm gonna give them powers of like what they don't think they are. So the smart kid is gonna be strong. And it's like the main kid is gonna be smart. I was like, nah, that baby's stupid. That baby's smooth as hell, that brain.
That was an interesting concept. Maybe it could have been executed better if these characters had been developed more, but I mean, that's a critique for a better film, I guess. Um,
Yeah. I like how they were trying to make like a unique, going against the stereotype female character. Like, I'm a rough tomboy who doesn't do the normal girl thing. And they say, no, your superpower is you're a woman. And women like romance. And she's like, no, I'm kind of unique. Nah, here's your superpower, Cupid. Go make people fall in love, you dumb woman. And yet another movie misrepresenting women.
we're really, you know, advocates of the feminist movement on this podcast. That's sort of our MO, as it were. If you're a feminist, email us at theholymomentpodcast@gmail.com and tell us how much you love and support women.
Nothing to do with movies, just how much you love women. How about if you're a feminist, you email us at the holy moment at the holy moment podcast @gmail.com and suggest a movie to us that will enlighten us as men to
That's actually,
the goodness of women.
yeah. Generally, if you are a woman in our audience and you want us to cover a movie that you feel speaks to something true about your experience that we might have missed, then please email us about it, and we're gonna try to check that one out.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be really great. We'd love to stretch our minds, and I think it's good to watch movies that you don't always think you would like. I think that's something about one of the reasons I like this podcast is you like the type of art and you like the type of music, you like the type of movies you like, and there's nothing wrong with that, and that's great. But over time, we sometimes get stuck in a rut with movies and music and art, and we watch the same. Well, I watched the Avenger movies, and I only listened to Drake, and that's fine. That music and those movies are totally fine. But it sometimes takes someone with a different perspective to suggest a movie that you would never have watched. And yeah, sometimes they end up hating them. Sometimes your co-host suggests for you to watch Super Babies 2, and you hate it. But sometimes a really good movie will be suggested, or a really good piece of music, or a literature, or art. So I like to try and watch things that not just my brain can come up with, or just not what I would enjoy. So yeah, genuinely, if there's any females out there, if there's a movie that you think represents some aspect of being a female, I would enjoy watching it.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. But have you considered if you were to put the wrinkly babies from Akira against the super babies in Baby Genius's Super Babies 2, um, which do you think would win?
No, we can't do a power ranking of Akira and Super Babies. That's diabolical, Jeffrey. That's so bad. Okay, all right. Hey, welcome back to Welcome back to Power Leveling 101. Today, in the left-hand corner, we have wrinkly babies from Akira. Their powers include ripping humans apart with their telekinesis, shredding you to the atomic level, and becoming super creepy bears. In the right corner, we have a round, bouncy ball boy, and a super stereotypical woman. Who will win? So here's my logic, Jeffrey. I think the wrinkly babies from Akira are going to take pity on the babies from Super Babies. They're going to be like, "Oh my goodness, these are just babies." Because we found out in Akira that those wrinkly babies really weren't bad kids at all. They just, I wanted to say what their motives were, but I don't remember their motives because that was a weird ass movie. But they're not horrible people, is the point. So the Super Babies are going to use this to their advantage. We saw multiple times in that movie, those kids, malicious. They didn't care about human life. They were there to get what they wanted. So while the Akira babies are, like, oh my goodness, we need to help these babies. The strong boy is gonna break their ankles. And then Bouncy Boy is gonna bounce all over the place and orientate them. And then the Love Girl is gonna shoot arrows into their eyeballs. And the Baby Genius Boy is gonna be like, ah ha ha, all part of my magical plan. And that's exactly how it's gonna go down.
I love how that's his superpower, is taking credit for things that he doesn't do.
Yes, thank you. I'm gonna hold off on it, but when we get to the final fight, I'm gonna shit on that baby, as I freaking hate that baby. Stupid Archie.
Well, it's I'm very excited to hear that then. But let's see, where was it that we left off?
I'd love to tell you, but who knows? Somewhere in the second act, probably done with it.
Yeah, I mean, we're probably approaching that part anyhow. The babies, they show up. They take their parents with them.
Oh wait, I gotta pause for it. I gotta talk about the scene. I was like half asleep, delirious, and so we're at the rising action. What is it called in the story circle where all hope is lost? Like the darkest hour has a term.
Yeah.
So we're like at the darkest hour. The big cajon is kidnapped. The babies are big stupid babies with no powers. What are they gonna do? And then the babies are like, wait a minute, we can be our own heroes. We don't need no one's help. Like a classic empowering moment, but instead of for like the minorities or some group of people that need it, it's for babies. And they steal that Archie steals his father's keys and goes and gets in the van and is like starts the van, is like, here we go, I'm gonna drive this as a baby. And then the father just runs up and rolls the window down. Like, what are you doing, baby? What? You can't drive this minivan. It was insane.
No, that scene, I had a note too that I completely forgot. The baby runs in, grabs the keys, leaves. There's a full 5 seconds where the mom's just staring after him. And then she's like, did you just see that?
Yeah. The amount of stealth is a note I wrote down at the very, very beginning of the movie where they're doing the flashback with the Big Kahuna and the Nazis. And, the Big Kahuna is like sneaking around this compound, sneaking in, using his Batman Gatling gun to like propel himself up a wall. And just like so many times, he basically jumps in front of the Nazis. And the Nazis like, what? He's too short. We can't see him. He's out of our field of vision. And just the least stealthy characters in the whole movie. But since babies are on the ground, they can't be seen.
It's just the mother had no sense of urgency in that scene either, because if I were in her place and I saw my baby grab something that he shouldn't have grabbed, including several things that are perhaps a bit sharp that he could choke on, I'd immediately run after that baby. I wouldn't, stare dumbly and go, did you just see that?
Well, Jeffrey, what you need to understand is this is Super Babies 2, and their writing is just beyond our comprehension.
That's true.
Too big brain of them. But anyways, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just thought that was a hilarious scene where the dad runs up and it's like talking to this baby, and we've already like established the dad doesn't believe the babies can talk. And he's just like, where are you going, baby? I see you're strapped up in a seatbelt and everything, and the car is turned on. What you doing? And then it's the babysitter that then runs up and is like, no, Mr. whatever your last name is, who's actually my uncle, the babies can talk. Help us stop Hitler. That's basically what she said.
Oh, but if we just rewind for a bit and talk about all the times that the mom was like, no, I think that babies are talking to each other. I don't know, if I were
it never paid off. It just like was her thing to say.
Yeah. It's like he's talking about something else completely different. And then she's like, no, he says something about like, what are they babbling about? And she's like, they're not babbling. They're talking.
And you think for all of her thinking that she didn't like jump in and say, yeah, the babies are clearly communicating. Weird movie.
Very weird. If I were her husband or another adult in the room, I'd be like, okay.
No, he did that. He did that worse. Literally at the beginning of the movie, it's classic. I'm a busy man. You're a done woman. I don't have time for you. She's like, honey, I think the babies are talking. He looks at her and then walks away. Doesn't acknowledge that she said anything. Like, you're so stupid, but you're a woman. Goodbye. Just so dumb.
I guess to fast forward again, back to where we left off, I did like that one shot of Mr. Kane spiking the camera, getting really close. He's like, stay in my way, you little run. You know?
Yeah. I do. I love the idea that it's the Nazi guy that's like, I'm the only one. I'm the only one that knows these babies can talk, and I'm not gonna let him do nothing. I'm gonna look at them and threaten them, and then walk away. Brother, it's a baby. You could kill it so easy, and your problems would be over.
Oh, but wasn't there that part where he's taking out the Nazis, and he's like, "Didn't your parents ever tell you not to play with guns?" Well, yeah, they have guns. Why aren't they using the guns?
Because that would be too easy. It's not sportsmanship to use guns on babies.
I mean, that is true. I think that I would have severe moral reservations about shooting a baby, and I would much rather subdue them via hand-to-hand combat, I guess.
I'd much rather choke the shit out of a baby than shoot it in the face.
Anyhow,
we are a family-run podcast.
They take the parents to the lair, to Kahuna's lair, and they get into a scuffle wherein they beat up his goons, and then they're all congratulating each other. And Mr. Caney's like, well, you think you've won, but I still have the disc here. And this part should be the freshest for me, but it's not.
You need me to recanter that final scene?
Maybe. Oh, that's right. Kahuna reappears. He's alive after all. And they reprogram the disc such that it tells the kids to go outside instead of, keeping them trapped in front of their TVs, which we haven't really told the audience the specifics of Mr. Kane's plan, but that was the plan, is to keep them sedentary.
You know who Mr. Kane reminds me of? His slapstick comedy routine and his kind of weirdly, upsettingly futuristic correct vision of the world. He reminds me of the bad guy in Roger Rabbit.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Do you remember his name?
I don't, but was he also German?
I'm sure. Probably. This movie taught me anything. If it was filmed in the early 2000s, Germans, off-brand Nazis for no reason. 100%. I just love the movie opened up. It's like, cute babies. The Germans, they're gonna fucking get ya. Just oh, okay. Just out of nowhere. But yeah, he just because he was a very crazy German accent, over the top villain, very just over the top centric. But specifically, the bad guy in Roger Rabbit, he wanted to get rid of all of the tunes. He wanted to get rid of creativity, and he wanted to replace it with his vision of freeways and banks and fast food. And then in this movie, we have a German trying to get rid of creativity, trying to mind wipe the brains of all the children. And he wants to basically create a world where everyone's looking at their screen. Everyone's doom scrolling. No one's going outside. So it's kind of weird that they're both kind of very similar, and B, kind of oddly upsetting that both have happened. And even though even in goofy movies like these, the motives end up being more realistic compared to world-ending things like the Avengers. I'm gonna blow up the world because I'm Space Hitler. It's more like, yeah, we're gonna take away and enslave a human race, not by some mystical magical way, but just by technology and not even technology where, oh, we're gonna put a chip in your brain, but just more like, hey, humans are addictive habit forming creatures. If you just put something in front of them that gives them dopamine, they'll maybe just keep watching it until they die one day doing nothing. And now I'm a little bit sad. Super Babies 2 was deeper than I realized.
Yeah, I was reading, I forget if it's Roger or Robert McKee, his book, The Story, which is on screenplay writing and just story construction in general. And I'm rereading it, and I'm still in the first few pages, but he's talking about archetype versus stereotype, where archetype is something that's present in stories that people can recognize as being true to the human experience, whereas stereotype is forcing something onto the audience for them to recognize by using generalizations and whatnot. And I think your revelation there just shows that Mr. Kane was truly an archetypal character. and not a stereotypical one. Because for it to have resonated with you in such a way, I don't know. Maybe people are sleeping on this movie, as the kids say.
Oh no, good child pun. Well, while I maybe can appreciate that his motives were a little more, and not motives, his way of executing his plans were a little more interesting than some movies. I do not think I can grace it by then saying it is a good movie or well written.
No, I think that it speaks to something, real, and because it speaks to something real in a way that captures us, I think we have to give it that credit. And I think that honestly, this should have been another Oscar in John Voight's
Okay.
belt.
Okay, good. Man, Jeffrey, you're acting so serious. I was like, is he serious right now? I can't tell, but okay. Another Oscar
No.
award-winning movie. I can now tell that
The last 2 minutes have been purely sarcastic. I just want to say.
Okay. You fooled me. See, you could be an Oscar-winning actor, but I'm also very, very gullible. Just tell me anything. Just yeah. Leave a comment on our next TikTok or Instagram post, and whatever you say, I will believe. I'll be like, oh, well, I didn't know that you named Mars Christopher. But anyways, I said earlier in this episode that I was gonna rag on Archie in the final climactic scene, so I must do so now. Here we are, the really cool layer, the good guys versus the Nazis, known as the bad guys. How are they ever gonna win? The babies are like, no worry. We'll go into the imagination station, get our superpowers. They get their superpowers. The bouncing boy is bouncing on the walls, knocking people out. The strong dude is ripping people in half and throwing them across the room. The girl is doing her stereotypical thing and shooting people in the butt with love arrows. And they almost had a gay moment, but they didn't. And wait, I made a note. What did he yell? So basically, she gets the power of Cupid. She shoots two goons, both guys, in the butt. And they stop fighting and they look at each other like, I love you, man. I love you too. And they hug. And then someone off screen, I think it's McCain, the leader of the Nazis, but I'm not for sure, yells out, oh no, this is the worst thing they've done yet. And so I'd like to think that he is referring to, oh no, the guys might like each other. And to think it's like a homophobic thing that a Nazi would say was pretty crazy.
Mr. Kane, I knew you were a Nazi, but I didn't know you were a homophobe.
Yeah. Not a Nazi and a homophobe. Aren't they kind of synonymous, Jeffrey?
They are.
Yeah.
The Nazis were very homophobic.
But all that to be said, so those three babies doing crazy things. And then the main character, Archie, the smart guy, the guy that got the intelligence, is watching everything. He's like, oh, interesting. And a little bit of backstory, because you need it, because this is a very deeply thought-provoking, complex movie. When the Kahuna showed up, he had the disc. This disc has the mind controlling blah, blah, blah on it, the program. And Archie and the Kahuna throws it up in the sky and it's waving all over the place, bouncing, and everyone's chasing after it. And Archie's like, ah ha ha. And he sticks his hand up and he catches it. And that's it. His big brain moment was he caught a Frisbee. I guess maybe they're kind of like, how in the world could he predict the trajectory? He just caught a Frisbee. And that's it. And then they played it off maybe he was super smart and he orchestrated everything. And he was like, yeah, these guys back here, they're my pals. I'm like the leader of the super babies. I hate you, Archie. You did nothing. Take off that diploma.
Where is your leadership, Archie? Point to the specific instances in which you were a leader. Please. Oh, you can't? Well, then maybe hand the reins to someone more deserving. Maybe hand it to Mr. Bouncy Ball Man.
The leader we all wanted, but we couldn't have. If Bouncy Boy Man was in charge, world peace would happen tomorrow.
Sphere, the perfect shape, the most satisfying, the most virtuous, the most true.
You know what can cut you? An edge. You know what can't cut you? A circle. Put that on my tombstone.
Unless it's like a pizza cutter or one of those saws, circular saws.
No. That's not a circle.
Okay, you know what? I agree with you there. I agree with you on the saw part for sure, because a circle with ridges that breaks the structural integrity.
Yeah, that's like a bunch of small triangles. That's not a sphere.
Yeah.
Little did you know, the Holy Moment podcast is an educational podcast.
The more you know.
But I think that's everything I wanted to say about dogging on Archie. Besides, I also hate at the end of the movie when the Cajona's like, "You're officially the next Cajona in training." And I was like, how? He's not going to live forever. He doesn't have a serum. He's going to be not a baby in like a year. What are you talking about, the big Cajona? You going to make him drink your blood? Sounds like a cult.
Yeah, no, for sure. But I mean, he has more of the green juice. He's just very greedy over it.
No. This was explained in the movie, Jeffrey. The green juice the big Cajona made to enhance and complement the DNA structure that was changed from the original green juice. I don't think he has any more of the original green juice, which also begs the question, because we are also revealed. Sorry if this is a spoiler, Jeffrey, if you're going to try and say this, but the brother who was the Nazi was like, he was the one that opened up his father's safe, and he was the one that was going to drink the juice because he wanted power. But then I don't know what lightning hit the window. I don't know what that was about. The window just shattered for no reason, and he gets scared, so he throws up the glass, and then the glass lands by the younger brother, the Cajona. He gets the powers because he drinks it. There was still plenty of that green juice. Why didn't he just go lick it up?
I had that exact thought.
It's because he's not Archie. He doesn't have a big brain. How could he have thought of that plan?
That's so true.
Yeah, his brain is too smooth.
I would have been lapping that stuff up like a dog. You don't even know.
Oh, just parents walk in, Jeffrey on all fours in the kitchen at night, just licking up milk off the floor.
Because Kahuna got one drop, right? Imagine what several scoops, or I suppose several licks, would have given you, you know?
Oh, yeah, the classic question. It's not how many licks get to the center of the Tootsie Pop. It's how many licks till you get roided out of your brain with green juice off the floor of your father's laboratory. Rolls right off the tongue.
Honestly, I mean, it's Kane's fault completely that he wasn't a super kid like his brother.
I mean, it arguably is 100% his fault.
I don't even think it's arguable. It's just 100% his fault.
Factual. This dude's dumb.
Well, anyhow, I think I don't want to talk about this movie anymore.
Don't ask me the dreaded question of the episode.
Okay. Nathaniel, there were a lot of holy moments throughout the course of this movie. Moments that made you stop and think and reflect on what it means to be human, what it means to be alive, what it means to be youthful, even in old age. And so my question for you is, which of these holy moments stood out the most to you? Which of these moments spoke to your soul?
So, you know, the thing we say at the beginning of every episode, welcome to the Holy Moment podcast, where we watch films with you and discuss the moments that work, the moments that don't, and the moments that reflect truth in unexpected ways. This movie was a big collage of moments that don't work. And I also know we say that we try to give every movie the benefit of the doubt because movies are hard to make. And we want to look for the best in every movie and not just make fun of it. But by golly, Jeffrey, I sat and I thought and I searched deep in my heart for a holy moment. And I came up with no holy moment. So here live, I will just think of the thing that I liked the most. And that will be my holy moment. And in all honesty, this will be my actual genuine holy moment. Working in the film industry, it can be very difficult to work with children actors, especially young children. So I cannot imagine every single scene having to have a baby in it and having to get that baby to cooperate. Must have been a very hard task. And even though the acting and fighting was cheesy, there was some fighting that like kind of worked. Again, it was cheesy and silly, but it like vaguely okayly worked, especially when the Cajona at the beginning of the movie was beating the Nazis and all of that stuff. So I would say their ability to make a movie centered around babies, not absolutely appalling with, I guess, the performance of the babies. It was funny how many times babies looked at straight into the lens of the camera. I thought that was funny. Just all the time a baby was like, "What's that? Oh, a camera? Let me look right into it." But yeah, I would say my holy moment is, it's hard to make movies. I want to look for something impressive that this film did. And yeah, I can't imagine having to show up to work every day and just hoping that this baby does what you tell it to do because it's a motherfucking baby. So I guess that's my holy moment with super babies, super genius babies too.
Profound. Thank you for that, Nathaniel. As for my holy moment, I really like the frog guy. Just the jittering, the jumping, the skittering, the scattering, the noises that he made. Give me that show, please. And with that,
Oh, that's fair. I'm not even angry. I'm not even angry.
With that, let's just, I'm going to give it a 1, maybe like 1 star, and call it quits, maybe.
Call it quits while we're already behind. I'm going to give it a very low rating. But you know what I do want to talk about for just 0.2 seconds? Obviously, this movie is not made for, like we said at the beginning, it's not made for two 26-year-olds who don't have kids watching it alone. First off, it's kind of weird. Kind of weird that you and I are both in a room at night in the dark watching this movie. Kind of sus. But it's not made for us, obviously. But this movie also was very renownedly hated. We're doing it for our category of rancid ass tomato. It had a 5% or it had like 5% like on Rotten Tomatoes. Not liked. In an unbiased way, Jeffrey, if you like were showing this to a kid, do you think this movie like worked perfectly well enough? Like I pulling out for 10 seconds. Like Studio Ghibli. One of the reasons Studio Ghibli is beloved is because they don't talk down to children. Their movies are technically kid movies, but all adults, all ages love them. It doesn't matter if you're 2 or 85. People love Studio Ghibli films. It doesn't talk down to children. It still expresses similar themes, but in a much more respectful way and to like the intelligence of humans. I'm not saying every movie has to be that. We can have dumb movies, fun movies for little kids. That's totally fine. But if this movie does this movie meet that marker of like, okay, you can throw it on for a 4-year-old, they'll like it. That's who it's for. It doesn't need to be any better than that. Or is there a certain responsibility of like, hey, actually, like look at movies like Frozen, look at movies like Up, Ponyo, movies that move people, movies that they're technically for kids, but adults still love them. So, is there any merit in being like, hey, you know what? This movie entertained my child for an hour and 28 minutes. Yes, I know exactly how long this movie is. That's all we needed it to do. Or is there a certain responsibility, a certain level of, hey, try a little harder. Come on. Like it doesn't have to be the next masterpiece, but it doesn't have to be this piece of garbage.
Yeah, I think that, 1, we both watched this movie as kids. Do you remember liking it as a kid?
I don't remember dislike. I would probably say yes. I think I liked it. I think, there's a cool layer. There's cool people with superpowers. Cool. Yay.
Yeah, I did too. And I think it made an impression on me, for sure. I think that this is theoretically a movie that you could put on and it will entertain your 4-year-old. But then, is this the kind of movie that they will take with them forever in a more meaningful sense? Right? Are they going to take lessons from this and carry it into adulthood in the way that a really impactful story like Frozen or Tangled might stay with them? I'd say no. I didn't remember what the theme of this movie was. I think that we can't afford to give kids better stuff.
Yeah, I think I agree. So for that reason, amongst 128 minutes of other reasons, I'm giving this movie a 0.5. The 0.5 comes from the fact that they ripped drugs and beat Nazis, and that was pretty cool.
That was pretty cool. All right, folks, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please reach out to us again at theholymomentpodcast@gmail.com. But also, we make ourselves known on Twitter. Not on Twitter, sorry. Not yet, at least. TikTok, Instagram, and
YouTube.
YouTube, yes, YouTube. Let's not forget the big one. And Spotify. Man, we've got all sorts of social media, don't we? Anyway, check us out there and tune in for the next episode, I guess we have to pick the next movie.
We do. And since you picked this horrible garbage movie, that means I get to pick the next movie. Everyone take to Jeffrey's personal social media and flood him with hate because he made us watch this movie. He made us watch Super Babies 2. And I feel like that's just
Flood me with
unacceptable.
praise. Make it worth my time, please.
Oh, yeah, speaking I gotta tell a little side story on that. So my senior year at film school, we had to do our senior thesis short film. And so I had to raise money. My goal was to raise $10,000. So I made a GoFundMe, did all the stuff, blah, 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 reached out to all my friends and family. And Jeffrey came to me and he said, Nathaniel, I would absolutely love to support you in your endeavor to make your short film. However, I need you to do one thing for me before I give you my money. And I said, well, dear friend Jeffrey, what do I need to do for you? And he said, I need you to send me hate mail. I need you to make it viral and I need you to make it absolutely rancid. And that's what I did. Once we get to 1,000 followers on any of our platforms, I will read that hate mail live or as live as one can do on a podcast. So now you guys have some incentive. Go follow us on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and on Spotify. But until then, I'm going to spin this wheel. All right, here we go, guys. This week, I'm hoping either for Tangled or Reservoir Dogs because I really, really want to watch Reservoir Dogs. I haven't seen it. And also, I love Tangled. So here we go. And it has been spun. Okay. Oh, yes. Oh, I'm so excited. I got Reservoir Dogs. It was almost RRR. And while that might be like one of my favorite movies of all time, I was like, dang, I have a busy week. I do not have time to watch a 3.5 hour long movie. So sweet. Yay. We're watching Reservoir Dogs, which
exciting.
This is
also,
for...
sorry, I completely forgot about the hate mail story. That's hilarious. And I am both nervous and excited for us to meet that benchmark. So
yeah, I have to go find it. It's probably buried in my email somewhere. But yeah, Reservoir Dogs. I picked it for a category of debut films. So it's Quentin Tarantino's first film. I've wanted to watch this movie for a long time. I'm a big Tarantino fan. I actually, ironically, accidentally, one of my short films at school was based off of Reservoir Dogs, and I didn't even realize it. I just was making it, and all my friends were like, "Oh man, you're doing like a Reservoir Dog movie," and I was like, "I've never seen the movie, so I don't know." So I'll be excited to watch it and to see what reference, because I think it's about a bank robbery gone wrong, and people maybe held up in a room after said bank robbery went wrong. So I know very little about it, so I'm super excited to watch it. So yeah, tune in next week. Next Wednesday, we'll be dropping that episode, and we'll be going over. Maybe we'll get some of Tarantino's famous feet shots. I know Jeffrey loves them.
You know I do. Anyhow, folks, now we are going to leave you, but keep us in your thoughts, keep us in your prayers, folks, and watch all of our past episodes and stay tuned for the future because we've got a lot of exciting things coming. That being said, thank you for watching the Holy Moment Podcast. See you next week.